You're viewing the CratePro Contacts video. Welcome to the contacts file. If you didn't already do so, be sure to view the Getting Started with CratePro video 2 of 2 for some basic information about navigating CratePro. The contacts file is primarily intended to maintain your CratePro customers, but can also be used as a basic management tool for all your contacts. Contacts is a basic contact management tool, but like the other modules in CratePro, it's here to assist in rapid and accurate Crate design management. Now, contacts is broken down into 4 major features. Details about the contacts themselves, showing design and job history, maintaining basic communication history here under the History tab, and advertising and communicating with the customer. Of course, you do have the notes field here where we started for keeping any basic notes about the contact. Here on top of all the screens is some basic information about this contact, such as the company name, a contact number, phone number, etc. But what's unique up here is some of these little blue links that you see on the screen. After setting up your contacts, you can click on the map link, such as this one, and it'll open up your web browser and display a map to the contact's location. So here we have MapQuest, and here's a map to DeployTech, which is the contact record we were on when we started. This is a great tool for deliveries, and the same feature, just like the other links, are available while creating and reviewing jobs and designs. If you have an analog phone system, which most companies do, you can plug your computer into the phone line and then the handset into the computer, or use a splitter so both the phone and computer are plugged into the wall together. If you have things set up this way, you can select Call, and CratePro will dial your customer and open up a dialog box for you to enter a call conversation. Now, I'm not going to do that here because dialer software and presentation software don't really get along, and it'll create a bit of a conflict. So let me show you the results. Your phone dialer is your own software. It's unique to your computer. Not every computer has it, but most do. If your computer has a modem, it's very likely it does. And we'll go to History, and this is the result of the call log. So if we did hit Call, and again, we could do this from the Design module or from the Jobs module where we're working on a job or design, we would end up with an entry such as this. Here we can see the subject. I just typed in this was a call out. And if we click on the glasses here, we can see the details, the notes that we typed. So these are the notes from calling out. Pretty straightforward. Another link that we've got here and in the other modules as well is the email, send email. So if we click on send email, we get an email dialog box, comes up with that contact's email address, and we can go ahead and type in an email right here and send it off to this contact. The result of that is the same. We end up with an event here. So CratePro will do this automatically. It'll say email out. It'll have the subject of our email, and if we click here, we can then view the body of the email. So it's all done automatically for us. You can also open a browser window and view the customer's URL. Okay, let's move on to the Details tab. Here, you can maintain a few of the important details about this contact. There's the obvious address field and contact first name, last name, things like that. Here, on the right side, is where you can enter additional material markups or labor markups, or you can have discounts as well. This is a great feature if you deal with both large volume customers and smaller customers. When you enter a value here, it's either added to or subtracted from the general markups that you may have entered when you started up CratePro and put in the initial values. So let's say this is a large customer. We can go ahead and put in negative 0.1, and let's say we're doing a negative 0.2 here. Now the result is that this customer would receive a 10% material discount and a 20% labor discount. And obviously, since these are markup fields, they work in the other direction as well. So this may be for a small customer or a customer that always wants a quote right off the bat, a fast quote, without giving you the time to think about it much. So for that customer, you may put this in as an initial setting, and then when you refine the quote later on, you can go ahead and change these in the design file, because that customer is then associated with the design when you create it. Now, for a customer to show up on a list and be available as a customer, they need to be selected here as type customer. Now you've got different types because, again, you can use this for basic contact management. And I do say basic. It's definitely not advanced contact management. It's here to support the design tool. But you can put in different types of contacts. And then the customer also has to be active. So long as it's a customer and it's active, when you create a new job or create a new design, this company will appear in the drop-down list, so you can select from them. Obviously, then you can deactivate customers if it's somebody that's not currently buying from you, but you don't want to delete them from the record. Send mailings is simply a flag to use with the advertising feature in CratePro, and we'll get back to the advertising feature a little bit later. That may be something that you use simply to check or uncheck, probably, for customers that have said that they don't want to receive your mailings. Now, one of the neat little features in CratePro that some people really find invaluable, depending on where they are and what kind of business they do, is the alternate forms option. CratePro allows you to store two different types of each quote form. Now, for me to explain this a little bit better, let's take a look in the setup file. So we'll go to the setup file, and we're going to select forms. Now from here we can see that CratePro has different types of quote forms for different products that you may be creating. So you have a quote form for crates, and you have one for pallets. You also have one for custom, because in CratePro you don't have to specify that you're designing a crate or a pallet. You could be making a spool or something else that you simply use a material list type feature, and you want to be able to send quotes out for that. Also, one of the great features of CratePro being a relational database is that you can batch your designs together into a job. So when you do that, it's very likely that you'd want to send out a quote for the entire job rather than one for each crate in the job. If you notice on this level within these, there's also a different quote for the email versus letter. So if you send out an email, there's one type form, and if you send out a letter, a printed letter for your quote, there's a different type form, so you can word them differently. We're going to look at all those later in the video that addresses the setup file. Right now, all we're going to be concerned with is this primary and alternate. Now, what the primary and alternate is it's two different versions of the exact same quote. So if you create a design for a crate and you go to email it to your customer, the customer can be defined to receive a regular type quote or an alternate type quote. And then we have that for every quoting option here. For each one there's a primary and alternate, including the jobs. So let's go back to the contacts file, go back to details, and we can see here the alternate form checkbox. So since that's not checked, that means that if we send a quote to our customer here at DeployTech, that quote would use the standard form. If we check this and we send a quote, that means it'll use the alternate form. Now, what's this used for? Well, we've seen it used in two different ways. One is if you work in a border where two countries where you have different languages. So you may be, for example, in the United States, you may be in the southern border, and you may have customers that are Spanish or Mexican, and you may have some that are American. You may have to do quotes in two different languages. Likewise, you could be in Canada or in the U.S.-Canadian border and have some customers that are French and some that are English. So you could designate one of the form types to be written in English and the other one written in French. Another purpose for this is to have a different quote for large customers versus small customers. You may want to use one type of wording for your larger customers, or let's say commercial customers, where it's a business and you're creating up business product. But you may also do creating on the retail level for retail customers where you may be doing furniture or college moves or something like that, in which case those type customers you may designate to use the alternate form, and the wording of your quote could be a little bit different. Okay, let's take a look at the Designs tab and the Jobs tab. These two tabs will show the history of any designs or jobs, including any templates or quotes for a particular customer in our contacts file. Now, we haven't done any here for DeployTech, so let's find a company that we have done one for. So we'll go to List View, and for the purpose of the presentations here, I added Bob's Pump with Bob. So we'll view Bob's record, and we can see now we've done two jobs for Bob. Job number 1, job number 4, and the description of those jobs as we put them in. Current status, we can see one of them's in production, the other one's been quoted. We can see who the salesperson was and the PO number for these jobs. And we can do the same thing for design, so we can see the breakdown of those jobs. Here we can see the design numbers, the content, how many of that design there was, and some of the details about the design. So this is very useful to see history on your customer. This is only one way of seeing this history. This is kind of a quick way for people that, based on permissions, and if you want to learn about permissions, see the video about user setup. Based on permissions, you can have people that can see the history here in the contacts file, but those people that can see it here, you may not want to be able to go in and see designs or jobs. Or likewise, you may want people to have access to the designs and jobs file, in which case they can do certain types of lookup there, but they don't have access to the contact file, in which case they can't see the information here. So CratePro is very versatile in the way it presents the information to you and lets you see what you want to see. Now we're going to go ahead and jump back to the History tab again for a minute. We did look at this. We were on DeployTech, now we're at Bob's Pumps. Just like if you use the call feature or send email feature, things will be logged in here automatically, but you can also go in here manually. So if you want to contact somebody and get some approval for something, or you've had some other communication with somebody, you can just go ahead and enter a type of event. Let's say you received an email from them, and it'll put your name, in this case I'm set up as the administrator, and the date you entered it. And if that's not accurate, you can go ahead and change the date and the time, and go ahead and type in the subject and the detail. And the obvious benefit here is you have all this history right here with the customer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final feature of the contacts file, and that's the advertising feature. The advertising feature in CratePro is a simple but powerful tool to enhance your customer communications. From here, you can send postcards, add slicks, do bulk emailing, and send out labels. Now, when I say bulk emailing, I don't mean spamming people. In this case, this should be a list of your customers, but it's a great tool to let them know that maybe you're going to be closed for the holidays, or you're going to be working extra hours, maybe you have more capacity at the moment, or something special is going on that you want to communicate with them. Same thing likewise with the postcards, ad slicks, and labels. Now, these work the same way as the quotes do. There's forms for all of these. To show you that, we'll go back again, return. We'll go back to the setup file, and here in forms, you can see where we were before was on the quotes tab, looking at all the different quotes. There's also an add slick tab, and here you can go ahead and type in any information for an ad slick. Now the sample here is set up to be kind of retail oriented, and you may find that something like an ad slick is only going to benefit you in a retail environment. So if you're a large commercial creator, this may not do anything for you, but there are features here for everybody. The postcard feature, again as an example. Now CratePro is set up to print the front and back of a postcard if you want to. CratePro has some Crate designs already on the front. That's in case you don't have a postcard, but it is set up so that you can also have your own pre-printed postcards and put your message on the back. So this is something that you can use for more commercial type customers as well, just like you can with the ad email. Again, we call it an ad email because it's in the advertising section of contacts, but any kind of email communication you want. And as long as we're here, let me just go ahead and bring up that this is the same place where you would enter your logo to go on any printed quotes. So that kind of applies to the quotes over here when they're printed. I've got my little goofy sample here on the right side, but you can put a logo in the upper right corner or upper left corner or wherever you want to on your quote form. Now in advertising, you can preview samples by checking a radio button on the left and then hit preview, or to send them, you'd use the radio buttons on the right. And we're not going to bother going in and looking at these now because it's pretty easy to do, pretty self-explanatory. If you find this part of the program beneficial, go ahead and click through and see what they look like, set them up, and send them from there. Now, the last thing to keep in mind with CratePro is that you've got all of the same features and benefits that we talked about earlier in the Getting Started video. As you can see, we have list view, we have form view, we'll go back here and we have the view all, and we can filter our list to the day somebody was added, and we can view all down here. You can enter a specific contact number and jump to that contact in the bottom as well, or scroll through your contacts there. So you really have all the same benefits of a relational database here. Something else that you get here is the ability to jump back and forth and around in the program. Now, this isn't unique to the contacts file, but it really is throughout CratePro. We can see, for example, that here we're in the contacts file and we're looking at the list of designs. And let's say we see a design that sparks our interest. Well, so long as a user we have permissions to do this, we can go ahead and take a look at this design and click on View. And when we do that, CratePro is going to take us to the design file where we can view that particular design. Now, to give you more example of the dynamic movement, let's say we've done that and we want to see, well, this is a pump valve. What else is on this job with the pump valve? Next to the job number, we can click on View, and that's going to bring us to the jobs. And we can see the job. So we can see everything on this job, and, well, there's the pump that goes with the pump valves, and we can view that. Sure enough. From here as well, we've got our map, email, and call, and we're on Bob's Pumps. We can hit View, and here we are back at the contacts file again. So you can see CratePro really does offer you a great deal of dynamic movement, and there's a lot of little techniques to get around in CratePro quickly and find what you're looking for very quickly and easily. That's it for the contacts. The next video of this training set will cover the basics of the user file, including the security features that we talked about briefly. So